Good morning, everybody. This sounds like it's my first time doing it. Because it is. So, I got a good note sheet and I got a backup to Zoom. Want to start out with asking a couple questions. I'm going to give a T-shirt away for the right answer. In this case, it might be the closest thing. What year was the first form of active solar technology discovered? 9. Nope.
85.
Nope.
73.
Nope.
35.
Nope.
53.
Nope.
It's 1900.
Get off your phone, Pete.
Nope.
99.
1875.
1920.
Come on. I'm giving you guys hints.
1776.
I'm gonna go with this girl right here. 1830. Yes, that was the first form of solar technology. What size? What do we got? Medium.
Or we have medium, large, and extra.
All right, excellent. Next question. Process of generating electricity directly from the sun is called what?
No.
Photosynthesis.
Oh, I'm gonna have to give you guys a shirt for that one. Medium or large or medium? All right. He's obviously wearing it. Right. No, it's photovoltaic, but you guys weren't gonna get that. So I'm gonna let it at that. The process that you guys recognize today is solar energy is what? Solar panels on roof, right? The process that those solar panels use is called photovoltaic. There's the solar energy, like passive solar energy. Just the sun that comes in the window and heats the room is considered solar energy. So keep that in mind. Another question. How long does it take the sun to produce enough energy to use for all of the world's energy use? Let me rephrase that. How long does it take the sun to produce enough sunlight to power everything in the world for 1 year? 4 hours.
3 seconds.
30 days. 32 days.
Lower.
7-minute halves. All right. Couple more opportunities.
60 days.
60 something.
Seconds.
Really second.
We did 60 minutes. That's not the right show. I'm not asking what size you have because I don't have much choice.
Thank you.
All right, the sun produces enough electricity in 1 hour to power the entire world. Pretty crazy that the world has not got further on solar energy given that. Today, about 3% of the entire energy produced in the world is by solar. They're hoping by 2035 that we can get that number to about 40%. With that, we produced about, in 2020, the last numbers they produced, about 15 gigawatts of electricity was produced, or solar energy was produced and put into play. They figured to get it done and get the right amount of electricity to hit that goal by 2035, we're going to have to produce 100 gigawatts a year. So we're so far off the path. That's why they're having this huge push towards solar. Now, I'm not an energy freak. I do love our Earth. I'm across the plains of Nebraska and Iowa and everywhere else. They've got a lot of downsides. The one thing I do know is that the solar energy today, the processes that we see out there today are working. It's really great technology. I didn't get into solar, necessarily just to make money. Obviously, I'm not an idiot, but well, all right. But solar energy just works. I had just put it on my own property. My property is divided up into my house, and I got a barn and some other buildings. I put it on my barn. My utility bill for my barn and the buildings that it powers was about $350 a month for those. Last month it was $35. That's the connection fee to the grid. You can't disconnect from the grid if you're inside of most municipalities. If you're out in the country and you want to be off the grid, a different story. And get batteries, etc. On my barn, I have 10 kilowatts of solar power on there. It's 30 panels, about 1 kilowatt is 3 panels. Most of the houses that you see today, if you look at the average house, is about 7, 8 kilowatts. Somewhere in that number, it's about 20 to 24 panels per house to power it fully. And that's the important thing. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit, because a lot of the, today's, if you talk to customers that are getting solar, they think they're completely being powered by solar, but the solar that's being sold out today, a lot of it is 70, 80% of maximization, where that means they're still going to get a utility of 20, 30% of their electricity. For example, we're going to show you here today, we build out to 100, 102%. I mean, so theoretically, you're not going to have a utility bill after. So
You just don't worry about me.
everybody else is like giving me a $20 bill. Everybody else gave me a $20 bill.
Oh, yeah.
So where was that before she really walked in? Yeah, so, thank you. I'm still on. Yeah, just the energy that our systems that we put in, we target for 70 or for 100%. You'll see from the example in the software that we use that there are variables that prevent us from hitting that in some cases. Houses that have a lot of peaks and change of direction don't allow for you to put panels on the roof necessarily, or tree growth, or the way the house faces. Those are all variables that will affect the success of putting a solar system on a home. And the software that we use, it's amazing software. It's called Zenobi. She'll be showing an example of that, but it's pretty amazing how it takes all that stuff into consideration. So obviously, solar, you want to be looking at the south and west faces of your home. We can't put them on the east. We generally will never put them on the north. So if you have a house that faces, the street faces the south, I mean, I'm not really excited about putting them on the front of people's homes, but if you live in a neighborhood, you probably aren't. And that's a whole nother discussion we get into, is the HOAs. Really, it's $20 right there.
Late fee.
I'll back it.
Yeah, Venmo, yeah. Like Phil again. So the HOAs, a lot of them have in their bylaws that you can't put solar on. But that is changing. Some of the states out there today, Missouri is an example that they just recently passed laws saying that HOAs cannot deny solar be installed. And they're a bill in the Nebraska legislature right now saying the same thing. So it'll be a matter of time. It's just a no-brainer. Solar really does make sense. The downside of the solar right now are pricing. It is expensive relatively. When we tell people a system costs $25,000, like, I'm not paying solar. I mean, I'm not paying $25,000 because I only pay $180. If I can show you a method that makes sense for you to do that, even at $25,000, would you entertain it? Yeah, thank you, Frank. Julie's sitting up here like. So we will go through some of those too. Nebraska is one of the few states that has a program through the state that allows consumers to finance their solar through a couple different banks that we can work through. But Nebraska offers a program at 3.5% interest for up to 15 years. That's a crazy good deal in today's marketplace, right? Where else you can get 3.5% money? So, but even at those rates, cost of solar, we've had to come up, bring our prices way down to make it work in some cases. Last year we were looking at, there was programs at 1.99% fees out there. So the rates have obviously increased. That's for it to make sense to consumers. We've had to bring the infrastructure prices down and the install. So it isn't as That's why you're not seeing a huge rush of people rush into this industry because it's not dramatically profitable. You know, you got Texas, Florida, you know, East Coast states where electricity is much more expensive than it is for us. We are somewhat lucky having utilities that we have here, where 10, 11, 12 cents a watt, where there's states like Florida and in some of those areas, they're looking at 30, 40 cents, dramatically more expensive for solar, you know, same cost install here or there. Just makes a lot more sense for those states, but it's getting that way here. So if we think about the cost of electricity, what's one thing it continually does? Right. So if you're paying $1.50 today, 150 that means. You know, you can expect in probably 10 years that's going to be somewhere in the area of double or more. Who's heard of the rule of 72? Okay, here's in real estate. But if you take the interest rate you're getting into 72, and you know, if you're looking at percent, your money's going to double every 7 years. Well, the rate of inflation today, it comes out to about every 10 years that's going to double. So if you're paying $150 today, 10 years from now, you're roughly be paying $300. So if we can show you on a solar program that your payment would be roughly 170 to 190, and your utility bill is 150 today, you come to a break-even point 3 to 5 years from now, where you're paying the same, but over the course of the next 20, 25 years, we can show you how you save tens of thousands of dollars with that program. And on top of that, it is good for our so, and that's the easy part for us all to overlook because we're not thinking about the coal they're digging out on a regular basis. We don't see it. We're doing a assisted living center out west here, and 7 miles from it is a coal plant. So they're pretty excited about that. It's a huge savings for them. They're gonna, you know, they're doing a solar field, so it'll be on the ground, it'll be ground mounted. But you know, 7 miles down the road is a coal plant that they're not using as much. And so small communities are really grasping onto that. One thing I didn't necessarily plan to talk about today, but I am going to put it out there because it's a huge factor is we all think about solar from a residential standpoint, obviously residential realtor, but on commercials and in small market communities in Nebraska, like Lincoln and Omaha generally don't qualify for them. There are some potential candidates for it. Commercial doesn't only get, so everybody in residential and commercial get a 30% tax credit, right? Not a tax deduction, you get a tax credit. The system costs you $30,000. You will get a $9,000 tax credit from the federal government for your solar system, right? If you owe $5,000 this year, you take that $5,000 from my crop, carry the $4,000 over next year and so on. But that's a huge savings. You take that into, you know, consideration. But residential and commercial both get that. The thing that commercial gets is depreciation. They get to deduct the system. So they can accelerate depreciate that all into 1 year. So they're in a 35% tax bracket, right? They can throw that all into the first year and get another roughly 35 farmers, ag-related businesses, pretty much any industry can qualify for that. So that's 65% right off the top. You didn't say the upward. But it's that darn good. I wanted to. It's just crazy. And here's what's super crazy. When I'm talking about small market, there's a program called the LEAP grant. This LEAP grant, the company we work with for a commercial install has about a 92% success rate getting this approved for small companies. But it gives them another 50% credit toward that system. So now they don't all qualify for it. They get the system out west that we're talking about qualifies for it. Not only will their system be free, they'll get a check in the mail for 50 grand. Thanks to our tax dollars. But that's how that works. That's how crazy the government is about pushing this. I don't necessarily agree with all that stuff, but it's happening either way. So we're just, you know, hoping to implement it. Somebody's going to do that. So with, you know, solar, you guys in the real estate world, right? You think people should buy or rent? Makes sense, but is buying more expensive than renting a trailer? Yeah, well, I guess it's variable, but the same thing with solar. Same thing does apply to solar too. We pay our utility bill, we don't think anything of it. We pay our utility bill, you know, just because that's what we've done that's what our parents did, that's what our grandparents did. But the world's changing. We have the ability today to own our electrical system. We have the ability today to own our solar system. Yeah, the cost is gonna continue to go up on electricity. So with solar programs, we lock in the payment on those with the low interest loans that Nebraska has. It's another $10. But the programs that are out there lock those costs in at $195, $185, whatever the cost is. That's for 15 years, and after that, it's paid for. And the systems that we install, the products that we use, are warranted and guaranteed for 25 years. There's no cost out of pocket on them. The maintenance. The pencil through that a little bit. We're talking some of it. But Logic Solar is, I have two separate companies. One is just an install company, that's Logic. So that's the company that installs our solar system. It's still owned by me, but it's a separate business. We just run it as Red Rhinos or sales division. But it talks about why solar. So there's a flyer on your chair. You know, 6 benefits of solar. Energy independent, talking about that, not relying upon the grid as much. Environmental impact, obviously digging the coal and other costs of our earth. Predictable energy costs. You set your energy costs. You know, eventually, you know, I got clients that are paying cash for the system, and so they're basically looking at only a connection fee to the grid, and it's roughly $35 that you got to stay connected to the grid. That'll be a variable. In some small towns and like in Iowa, I've seen them pay $75. They just don't want anybody to go solar because they're relying on their local utility company to pay their salaries. But it does add value to the house. If you're selling a home that doesn't have a utility bill, there's additional value there. They generally note that from 5 to 8% of the value of the home. You know, $500,000 house, it's $25,000 to $40,000. Yes, Billy.
Are appraisers recognizing that value increase also?
That's a good question in this market. So in California, as an example, absolutely. Texas, Arizona, where it's been common, we are gonna face some of them challenges and unknowns of getting appraisers to take that into account. But I think that's just a learning process. So that's probably, you know, as we are learning about it and you guys are learning about it, those guys I'm sure are in that same phase. Incentives, the federal government, 30% tax credits. If we use American-made products, all American-made products on the install, it's tough to do that on a residential install or mounting on the roof, because the products that are American-made are inferior quality for the most part. But there's an additional 10% tax credit on that, so which is pretty cool. The products that we use. See if you want to pull up that one. I'll talk about it when we get there. Right here, in phase is all the electronics we use. REC is the best panel, hands down out there. Sunmoto is a rack for the framing that we use that it sits on. That stuff's all aluminum. The pads, the reason I chose that one, specifically being in our industry, the pads that sit on the roof are by far the best as far as preventing potential leaks in the roof. The way it seals to the roof. Like I said, these are all aluminum, it's light on the roof. That's one of the other downsides of solar is it's heavier on your homes. So when we do a review of a house, we have to take into consideration framing, etc. In some cases, we have to build a knee wall underneath the roof to support it. The reason we use in phase, it's just superior technology. A couple of things about it. Remember the Christmas lights where a bulb go out and the whole line goes out? Yeah, you know, Chevy Chase shit. When you see somebody out there, a lot of the systems that are being installed today by more or less national brands out there, they sell based off a cheap price, you know, and charge a lot for it. But they're using what I consider inferior equipment. Client doesn't know any different. But the in-phase product is just superior. And the one couple things about it, one being is if one of the panels goes out, the rest of them will continue to work. The other thing I love about it is in-phase systems come with an app on your phone. And once your system's installed, you will see the exact grid of the panels on your roof. You'll see how much electricity is being produced by each panel on your roof. And if one goes out, it'll tell you which one's out. And it's just an inverter on the back of the unit that controls the microinverter they refer to it as. That will relay the information to our system. So obviously, for that to work, we got to connect to, it's got to be Wi-Fi powered. But it's phenomenal. And like I have that app for my barn. Oh, and the other thing that's cool about my barn is when they wired it up, now my meter goes backwards. So kind of fun to watch. You know, it's like, hey, not paying for electricity. The other thing is just long term is it just saves a lot of money. That's more for, this is something we're doing with providers such as HVAC companies, anybody that has a lot of contact with clients, that, you know, if they want or are interested in. We pay $1,000 referral fee to anybody you put us in touch with that ends up going solar. So it's a program that we've just started, but we're pretty excited about that. So next.
Do you want to do a couple of the last slides? You want me to do
Yeah, this one's yours. This will cover her. So why don't you bring yours up there?
Okay.
So this, or I can cover that. Go ahead.
Oh.
No, go ahead. Really. I mean,
You want me to go back?
no, go ahead.
Okay.
All about you.
All right. Well, my name's Sharon.
Once it's on.
There you go. My name's Sharon. I've been working with Red Rhino since November. They brought me in to work with the solar, doing the permitting and the back office kind of stuff. And if you don't know John, it's John Wanninger, Red Rhino Roofs and Solar. So what I wanted to do was just let you know what we're looking for when we go meet a customer. If you refer people to us, John will talk a little bit more about, you know, your benefits of doing that. But what you're asking that customer to do is meet with us for 30 minutes. Okay. We're not going to hard sell. You know, John, you know, it's about relationship building, not hard sell. Okay. And this app is really cool. We go in and
Sample this.
we'll go here. Oh, we'll go back.
Here's an example. This is just, so we have to have everybody's utility bill. And on commercial, we have to have every month's utility bill because of the way they write them. But this, we just need 1 month of your residential bill to show all of this information on it. It shows how much energy you're using and what they're paying. So on this particular bill, the average bill is $147 a month. So.
Yep. So one of the things we ask for is their utility bill from OPPD or whoever their supplier is, because like John said, it is custom made for that home. So we're going to take their information. This is how much this family uses every year.
So in this particular case, the software that we use, you'll see another one here in a bit that shows the sun. Yeah, this one here, that actually shows where the sun is hitting that roof.
That is this homeowner's house.
Yes, and you know, it takes in consideration the trees are shading that, but the software does all that for us. But it also measures where the panels will fit on the roof. There's setbacks on the roof. You know, you can't be within so many inches of the edges of the roof, et cetera. So it does become challenging in some cases to get 100% on some houses. And at the same point in time, like I said, we do everything we can to prevent from putting them on the front of a home or the summer that they will be. That's another thing I'm talking about HOAs about, and this is something to consider, is there's probably 20 to 25 different panels that are being used in the market. But, you know, we use the REC panels because they're solid black, frames are black, you don't see any silver or piping on them. The other thing is like when guys got corners, they'll do conduit and run it down the edges of the roof rather than take the time to go through the roof to the attic. So, like this panel here is an example. These have the silver framing on them. I don't like those, but sometimes here's this on a tile roof. That's why that one's that way. That's obviously just a picture. But everybody in the HOA or the homeowners association would agree to use the same panel. I think it's more consistent. You're not seeing, different shaped panels over here and different color ones over there. Yes, sir.
You know a thing or two about roofs. It seems like the no-brainer answer is solar shingles. When will the technology catch up with where that'll be the solution?
Yeah. Yeah, so Elon Musk does have those. And there are some houses in town with it. You go out to, there is one down there. I was thinking, what's the big, land hall project out on the river? Sanctuary. There's a couple houses in Sanctuary that have them. They don't make sense financially at all. They're 35% less efficient than panels. And, they're much more expensive. Do they look cool? It's an opinion, because the panels that are actually solar related are shiny. The other ones are more of a muted color. So I think it's an opinion. I've seen them in person. I don't know. I'm not sold on the fact that they're inefficient. Doesn't make sense. You ask like when's the technology going to catch up? The other thing you got is every shingle you have a connection. They come in blocks. Some of them are 3-4 feet long, but every time you have that, you got a connector. The more connectors you have, the more potential you have for failure. On the solar system, yeah, you have connectors, but they're big. If one goes bad, I can change it out. I don't know the technology behind the shingles that they can tell, hey, that shingle goes bad. It's that one shingle. I don't know that, but I do know on the panel systems that we're able to do them. And the supply house that we use, like Sharon came on in November. That's when we started solar. Obviously, the last year was 600 homes in Omaha, Douglas County, basically that had solar installed on. The year before was like 50. Anticipated about 2,000 this year, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And that's mainly because of the interest rates that have slowed that down. But the supply house that we work with, these guys are phenomenal. They came in, they're not from Omaha originally, but they came in here and opened up this supply house. A lot of knowledge. And they have zero interest in pushing the shingles simply because they're inefficient prices. So until that technology improves, like you said, Bill, we probably won't see it anytime soon. Yeah, no, that's fine. Hail damage, if you seen some of the hail that hit, west or east of Des Moines here recently, there's a couple in some of the sites that I'm on. Solar panels got smashed by hail. You get a 2-inch hailstone, it's breaking them. They're covered by your insurance, though. That's the other thing is, from the experience we've had so far, having a solar system and then increasing your homeowner's insurance cost. So
They are rated for like inch and a half.
yeah, they'll go up to inch. They say an inch and a half, but
And how does that work then if the rest of the roof got hail damage?
Yep.
And then that didn't, so that,
yeah, it's a good question. We will actually then have to pull up the solar system, re-roof that, put it back down. And that's all, insurance is covering it. It goes programs over there. The reason I know about some of that over in Iowa too, the company I work with out of Des Moines that does solar as well and roofs is doing a couple of those. So, yeah, we haven't experienced that here in Omaha yet. Obviously, haven't had big enough hail to do that, but the time will come. So.
Insurance costs.
Right now, from what everybody's saying and all the insurance agencies and the insurance companies that have it. No. I'm surprised. I just anticipated that there would be some type of increase. But the insurance companies that we've talked with, State Farm, et cetera, obviously deal with them on the roofing side. So we've had communication with them, talking to insurance agencies, and nobody's had any. And my insurance agent, they're a large firm, and they had insured several houses that have solar, and there's not been any increase, including my own house. Okay. So, another shirt. Who can tell me what net metering is? Yeah, Billy.
Right. When you produce more electricity than you're using and then you can sell it back.
Well, you know that back here. So now it's your size.
Is that 2X?
Just your size.
Oh, sure.
I was kidding about the throwing back. Yeah, there you go. No, what net metering is, you overproduce in say the summer. That energy goes back into the grid. And when you need it in the winter time, you get it back free of charge. Basically, OPPD or Nebraska in general has net metering. Iowa has net metering. The utility companies work as a storage system for that energy you produce. People say, well, can I make money on it? It's, if you overproduce, like I said, we built these out at 100%, 101, 102%. Likelihood of you overproducing or where it can make any money is super minimal, and they buy it back at 10 cents on the dollar. So, yeah, it's super cheap. Now, but that's a huge benefit to us. Go to Arizona, go to Texas, go to California. They're more like 10, 12, 15 cents. Versus if you overproduce, you don't get that energy back, but 10, 15% rate. So batteries only hold so much. So the batteries are expensive. The fact that the grid takes it for free and brings it back is tough to do. And the apps that we use manage all of that stuff. You know how much you'll. And when you're underproducing, the app will tell you that, and it'll tell you what you get back from the grid. So batteries on general, I'm just gonna say are 8 to 10 grand a piece. And it would take roughly 3 batteries for a home to be off grid, 30 grand. But like I said, you pretty much can't do that in most municipalities. I can't speak outside of Omaha and Council Bluffs. I just know here.
How do you get your bill down to $300?
That's a fair point, but that's what this here shows. It shows where the sun's producing, and you know, the yearly production. It has all that information built into the system. People always think of Nebraska as, well, solar wouldn't work here. We still have, you know, same amount of hours of sun in the day that Texas does, California. You know, maybe cloudy, but you know, in California and Florida and those places, the sun shines all the time. You know, I remember I said start the conversation off and said that the sun produces enough solar energy, produces the power of the world a year in 1 hour. Your house receives enough solar potential through the 8 or 12 hours a day to power your house throughout those times.
So you don't have a battery.
Goes back into the grid. And in the evening, it pulls it back out.
So for example, in our picture here, in January, the sun's not producing enough power on our system for the whole house. So that's why we have the red. So in January, I'm going to get a bill for that difference. But in May, I don't have my air conditioner running yet, and the sun is overproducing what I need. So I'm getting the metering back. Mhm.
You kilowatts today, and you only use one, that one will go in tomorrow. Tomorrow, you need to get that kilowatt back for free.
OPPD balances it at the end of the year.
That's state of Nebraska, all utilities. So the numbers on this particular example are a little off. So I actually wrote it here just because.
Yeah, I used to.
It's already done, and so the example we used with the bill is $149. And the offset was 100%. The savings start at year 5. Up until then, your utility cost is roughly going to be less than your solar cost would be. But after that, your average year 10, your estimated savings is $2,600. Year 10. Over 25 years, you're estimated to save $63,000. That's over 25 years now. Obviously, are you gonna live in that house that long? Probably not. Most people won't. But the fact of the matter is that property is gonna be producing more energy than it's using. So it's just to me, it's just a no-brainer that we consider solar. Wish it was cheaper for our clients, but that's why our prices have come down 30–40% from what we were able to charge, when we first started. So, but we do that, because obviously we still want to install systems, so we're making it work. It's a better deal for our clients. The other finance that's out there that you'll see the national pushing, and I mean national, it's like SunPro, Everlight, these guys, you guys are knocking on your door all the time. They push a lot of times a 25-year financing program, which sounds great. But all of those have a add-on bump on the front of the program. So the solar program, let's just say the solar system is going to cost you $30,000. They'll add 30% to that. They'll add $9,000 on the front end that they get paid, and then they'll charge you 3.99% interest for 25 years. But they're getting. So when you go to sell that house 5 or 10 years from now, you're paying that interest on the front end. You're loaded up on the front end. Where if you use like the Nebraska program that we push, true, your payment's gonna be slightly higher, but your financing is, 30% less. So if you decide to move in 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case is, you're not paying that additional finance charge up front. So I just think it's a no-brainer that we're fortunate to have the Nebraska program. And if anybody's interested in that, at some point in time, you can reach out to us. We can cover that with you.
How much is the federal credit?
Federal credit is t-shirt. Yeah, it's 30%.
This is one of my favorite slides. Because when I was raising my kids my second grader came home from school and he's like, Mom, we have to start recycling. I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, he's now 30 and it is their lifestyle, right? They compost, they recycle. I scolded John the other day for throwing an aluminum can in my regular trash. We recycle at the office. So this slide just depicts the damage that the fossil fuels are doing for us. It's just one of those things you can kind of talk about the pollution, the forest fires and the coal smoke and such going into the air. And if we can just go to solar, get rid of these. Then we have the clean air, the renewable energy. It's very reliable. There's, you want to talk a little bit about the maintenance, the lack of maintenance?
People ask that all the time. What costs to keep little enough. It's not impossible that if you're under like for solar, but keeping debris off of them is good. Snow in our marketplace will build up on them over time, but it stays very short-lived given the fact that they're very slippery, generally on a pretty good slope and a black. So they hold heat. So keeping those in the event that you had heavy snows or something potentially would be an issue. They have to have clean snow off of them. But what the experience has been, and even in northern markets like Minneapolis has honestly had a huge push in solar. You think about them, like you're asking about Nebraska, Minneapolis is obviously on the green side, but they have a huge push in solar. It's working up there real well. So they get a lot more snow than we do.
But it's a really big thing again for the younger generation. This has been their life. They've been learning about taking care of our earth the whole time. So it is one of the selling points for them. What it takes, this is when we go into a home, we're going to say there's a lot of steps involved with getting the solar on. However, we take care of everything. The customer doesn't have to do anything. We do our consultation, the sales analysis, and then they're not doing anything until the installation, right? And then they're there so that we can give them the app and that kind of thing. And then there's a test period, and then the power is turned on and they start using their solar. So there's a lot to it, but the customer doesn't see it.
A lot goes on the backside as far as
Mhm.
permitting, engineering, qualifications, stuff like that, that take place. We use a licensed electrician to wire the system or to install the system mounted. But that's all we install it according to the engineering firm that we use. That's through Synovi that builds the system out for us. So,
So it's very easy to go solar.
great.
Panel,
All right.
it's my solar.
I'm glad you asked that question.
Came on.
So look
I'll
at
wear
that.
this
I took
tomorrow.
that back for all those times I was.
I'm gonna wear this tomorrow.
Love it. That's a fantastic question that I forgot to bring up is so when we go out and do an analysis on a house, the house has to have certain electrical panel requirements. Generally we're looking for 200 amps, you get down to 150 on some systems, but more so the quality of the breakers. The federal government offers up to $4,000 tax credit program to upgrade your electrical panel. So if your panel's out of date, you want to go solar, they'll pay for that.
But that credit just for.
Yes, can't do it. Now, if you want to use, there's other programs that are out there that are aside from solar, I can't speak to them. But we do talk to our clients when we're doing it. They want to install a charger for an EV car, that falls under the credit. Going to heat pumps and stuff like that goes into the program, that'll qualify anything that are energy efficient. So, but the upgrade to electric panels is a big one. Appreciate you asking.
And then one more question. So no, I am solar and frame rack, and not solar. On the side of your home, the usage and all that, I think starting like at 20, I think it goes up to 30, but the panels are in a farm, like out on the hill. And so those panels, they're in the morning like this, and they're like this, and like that, and then.
They follow the sun.
Yeah, they follow the sun, and then you get a credit. Put part of that, plus put solar on your house, or that interfere with what is happening out there. Do you know anything about
I
that?
don't, but my general take on it is once again, that's the utility company that's doing that, which is fantastic.
Well, so here's the thing, if you want to use, if you want to be solar friendly, you have to buy into the program, and they have a 20 to 25-year payment plan, and I've sold some of those homes. So it's a separate loan, so my sellers have to go pay that off.
Yeah,
But it's a benefit to lease.
Yeah, there are some lease programs in the solar world out there that we are not fans of, but actually, I'll follow up with you after this and I'll look into that, because that'd be interesting, because we are starting to see that more, especially in the smaller markets.
Mhm. Yeah, like we did the push on, actually, I think they just acquired one for us.
Yeah, the utility companies, and especially the smaller utilities out there, they're not looking at it as favorable as we are. They're looking at it like, ooh, our jobs at risk,
Well, here's the
so.
problem with the Department of Utilities out there. For years, it's been coal and hydro water facilitated, so they're trying to replace the coal with
Yeah.
the solar. So
Yeah.
that's why they're trying to get the consumers to buy in on it.
Well, that's exactly it. They're trying to do what we're trying to push to consumers. They're trying to do that so they can sell it back to you.
I know that when I stepped in, I prefer to have the panel on the roof, but I've seen them on like a south side of a house.
The ground mounts.
Yeah, the ground mount. You guys do those?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I was talking about, where the ground mount systems that we install are 100% American made, so you can get an additional 10% tax credit. Now, do you want the, I mean, roofs may not allow the alignment of the roof, direction, the tree cover, may not allow for the panels to be placed on the south or west side of the home. So putting them in the ground in the backyard. You know, the one option that I do think I'll tell you about is some folks are having patio covers built where these can actually, you know, look appropriate in your backyard. So I'm just not a fan of the ground mount ones in
You know,
somebody's yard.
Well, because I drove by and they had them on the side of their garage and it faced out.
Yeah.
So, but it looked kind of cool and then make the house look bad. First I thought that they were dark windows. So I was like, wait a minute. Oh my, oh no, those are solar.
Yeah, and that may apply in some cases, but the ground mounts themselves, for the most part, imagine everybody in your neighborhood do the ground mounts, what it looks like.
Mhm.
I'm just being the cosmetic side, but
Right.
even though it is, you know, to be functional.
I have,
Yes, sir.
Two questions. You mentioned the Nebraska program in Iowa.
Iowa does not have that program. Like I said, that's where Nebraska is lucky. Iowa, I believe, has an additional $5,000 tax credit that's available through the state. The state funded program, so it's probably an offset of some sort.
And then the other question, I was just curious, say like we're so connected to the grid and we lose power. Does it still?
Yeah, your solar system will still run.
But it will still run, so it won't have to be connected to a battery or something.
The inverters that we use will allow your system to still operate at a certain capacity. The fact is, the city of Omaha, we generally don't lose electricity unless you're somewhere they got power lines. That's the other thing, is look at like Midtown and several trees are a major factor. Solar and the roofs are small. Solar becomes minimal opportunity. But you know, if you're concerned about losing electricity, if you're in some property where you're concerned about losing electricity, then we would highly recommend you have a battery installed. You're in a smaller market where you might lose electricity. That's a good idea. Yes.
Your system allow for vehicle to grid? So if there's a Tesla or whatever the brand is that allows, the car will allow it to feed back to the grid as a battery.
Yes, that's an actual, that's a converter that can be installed where you're, you know, like the Ford pickup advertises about charging back to the house. Yeah, that's a actual product that can be installed to allow that to happen.
It's compatible with that.
Yeah.
I have one more question. Sorry. Lifespan? What is a lifespan?
Well, the warranty is 25 years on basically everything. So once you install it, it's 25 years on everything. Roof penetration, you leak, we'll fix it, everything, the product. So, the known lifespan on this, because if you look at panels that were installed, as you guys have seen panels that were maybe, there's a couple houses, where is that one down in like 78th or 84th on the corner of the house, that old panels, I think it burned down here not too long ago. Those are not, those are old school. I don't even know what the hell they're trying to do. The panels today haven't been around long enough to say how long they're going to probably last. The fact that they're warranted 25 years, they're putting a lot of faith in. So, I would guess that the ultimate lifespan was probably well beyond that, if they're willing to go out this far and a warranty on it. But if you think about it, there's no moving parts in it. It's just, you know, wiring and electrons.
Material, so obviously the technology changed over the years, it's better and better. Is there anything on the horizon that you've heard of that's gonna be the next generation?
Nothing as far as new panel technology. That's why we are using the latest in micro inverter technology. Probably what Billy was asking about is the single technology, as it improves. I don't know how they're gonna get to the point where you're not dealing with the connectors. That's where your failure happens a lot of times.
Another thing too, like, when you have a hail event or posted, now it's got to be placed. I assume that you have a framework work, got the panels set on there.
Yes. Yeah, remember I was talking, so with our framework is made by Sunmoto, and that's all aluminum, it sets on circular pads like that set on the actual roof. And they're cushioned to set on the shingle. Yeah, and bolted down to the roof. We either bolt directly into a rafter with a center point bolt, or use a three leg, place where we're driving through just, into the sheeting.
Right.
So, and those are all sealed.
When, during this 25-year warranty, what do you charge? You come out and remove everything so the roof can be replaced.
Only, hopefully it's through a hailstorm, and the insurance company will pay for it to be removed and put back on again. So, and we're generally lucky enough in Nebraska for that to happen. But if I had to say, from a timing standpoint, we said it, you're probably looking at $4,000 to $5,000 to take it off and put it back on. And if it was out of pocket in today's dollars, given how long it takes. Yes, sir.
Do you have a flyer that, realistically gets denied, so I can start the conversation?
Yeah, if you would have sat over where you're supposed to, you'd have one.
Is it for us, our audience, or?
Yeah, it's simply this here. It talks about all the aspects of white solar and benefits. At the end of the day, really, it's just education. It either makes sense or it doesn't. Can we get your bill lower than your electric cost today? Potentially, but that's not what it's about. It's about long-term financial benefit. It's about being green. It's about reducing the demand on our local grid, which we already know is some stages well beyond capacity. Nebraska is not necessarily one of those, but look what happened in Texas, California, those things, and that's only. And we're looking to provide a way that for those who've done business with us in the past, it's it's an educational relationship way. I mean, it's not a high pressure sale. If it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, we'll talk to your neighbor. So, yeah, so, any other questions on?
An average house for 7 to 8 kilowatts with like 24 panels, right?
Yeah, per watt, you're looking at 3 kilowatts, so.
Each panel is what, like 2 by 4?
Exact measurements, I think is 30 inches by 48. They're good size. I mean, they're tall. So. Shut up.
How heavy would that be?
Do you know the answer to that? All right. How heavy are the panels in each individual panel? How many pounds?
60.
5.
5.
3, 40, 30. All right, 50 pounds.
So yes, it is considerable weight, but it's not.
Yeah, and then you distribute that over the roof. But that's obviously another benefit of us is we understand structure from the home inspection world. But going in, if you need to build a new wall or something like that, framing support, that's pretty simple to do. So, all you have to do it.
That can be.
More of a specific question, if the house is east or west facing, do you split the panels half and half, so they
It
produce?
depends on the roof, right? If you have dormers and other considerations on the roof, those all come into play. I mean, where the panel, given the size of the panels like here, because of her hip roof, you really can't get much on it. And that's south, if I remember right. I can't remember, but southwest, whatever. These panels here are gonna have some shade on them, but to get to that, to get to
Does the panel produce more in the afternoon than in the morning, or does the panel produce more in the afternoon sun?
and all the software and we got like an app on my phone that literally will show where I can use it and show where the sun's gonna be on a particular house at a particular time of day. Technology is crazy. But yeah, just because your house faces in a certain way, if your neighbors have big trees. You know. It may eliminate that as an opportunity. And it's not like, but if you have a homeowner that is just flat out green friendly, and we can only get them to 50 or 60% usage of offset, then they may still want to do it. Even though it doesn't necessarily make financial sense, they may just say it makes green sense. So, it is, at the end of the day, it's coming whether we want to deal with it or don't want to deal with it. So we're just trying to be on the front side of it, educate. We're doing it literally, as cheap as anybody can, yet using the best quality products that we can. And we have a cheap product that we can show people, but I won't install it. It's probably 20% cheaper. 25% cheaper. Install still the same process. Actually, install a little bit more because it's a separate connector for everything. Another pain in the ass. Yeah, and you don't have that. So. The app is cool. I think that's not just a watch, but it actually is very beneficial to know what's going on.
Did you say that there's any annual maintenance on it? Like
No.
bird crap and. Dirt?
If we didn't get rain, didn't get snow, yeah, those would be considerations, but the small amount that's going to happen. And they're really not very friendly for birds to sit on. There's nothing aside from the side of the rail maybe they can sit on. And we do have, like, you took them, a picture of our unit sitting on our roof anywhere.
I don't have them with me.
Because we can actually will have a custom made skirt made for it. That's just black that prevents critters and stuff from potentially getting under it. That's a consideration. Some people, if they're in an area heavily treed or where a tree overhangs the roof, you've had raccoons on your roof, we can put that skirt behind it. We'll actually have it custom made. Did you have a question? Billy?
How often do you have to have them clean them? Like from bird poop or dust or?
Oh, like this question. No, you really don't have to worry about it because it's so minuscule, considered based off the size. Between rains, dew, snow events, it just doesn't become a necessity. Not to say it couldn't be if you had a huge flock of pigeons at your place, ducks or geese. But no, there really haven't been because you're looking at the size of it, on the whole thing. If you got a few sausage droppings on it, it's still going to produce significant amount. Question?
What's for the average homeowner, what's the total install cost, not including taxes?
Yeah.
Your numbers that you have here.
Well, the number I gave out was is on a basically 7 kilowatt system, $22,500. So that's what most.
Would be off of that.
Yeah, and once again, you take 30% of that. Who knows that number?
It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,900 square foot house.
That's $6,600. So you're down to roughly $16,000. Yes, sir.
How are you determining like if someone needs like a new roof or like how do you?
Yeah,
Have all the panels on there.
I'll give you another shirt if I had it. That's a good question because how much sense does it to us to put a solar panel on a bad roof? Zero. In some cases, on commercial, I can't say I got to get better clarification because we would say that placing the roof is required for us to put a solar system on. And the law or the program is written that anything that's necessary for the client to go solar can be included in it. If that requires the roof, some accountants consider that as a necessity to put solar on. And therefore, you can write your roof off part of that program too, with 30% tax credit with the new roof.
That way the changing out the electrical box is part of it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm not gonna it'd be silly for us to put a system on a roof that's considered, near the end of its life.
So you're just looking at them and just going, oh, you've got like 5 years left, you might as well replace the roof too.
Yeah.
Or what?
Another, once again, it's another, I would say, advantage that we would have over, I'd say, Sun Pro who doesn't do this as well, but, this, they would probably be a situation, I'm guessing, that they just put on. They're not, they're not worried about whether they need to replace, where good, better, and different, we can sell the roof, make a little man, whatever, but, it would be silly for us to put a system on a roof that needs to be replaced.
That's how they can make money.
Well, like I said, if you refer us, any clients along the way, we give $1,000 referral bonus. All you gotta do is say, hey, talk to us. My client said something about solar, maybe being interested, they just moved into the house. If they're selling, I wouldn't, obviously. But if they show interest, you refer them a name, we reach out to them, and they buy a system already, but $1,000. So. I'm afraid. Any questions? I super appreciate you guys. Oh, Grace.
You guys?
Yeah, we will give you more of those.
Downstairs.
Yeah, we'll put a brochure stand in the back office for it. We'll have those. If you need more of them or want more of them, drop them off directly. So, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.